Hi, I'm Dennis Downs. I'm an artist, and what follows is a slideshow about the building of Studio North, also known as the Barbarian shelter. This is a aerial photo, obviously, of the island. Not a lot of neighbors, and there's lots of boulders in the water that you have to go around if you want to make it to the island every time. I've been up there 32 trips over the last 11 years. My wife Gail's been up every year for a week, also to help on the different projects. The slideshow that follows will explain a little bit about what it took and the people we met up there. This is the kind of terrain you're talking about. It's almost like the foothills of Colorado when you're driving. It's beautiful along Lake Superior. This is the site on the island that we chose after a couple of seasons of just travel, trying to make trails on the island. It's a cool spot, little peninsula, and the view faces the west. This is just a shot coming home in the motorboat. Up there I have a little 14-foot rowboat with a 9-horse to go back and forth. This is Klaus. He was the guide up there for the Normandy Lodge, and that's my wife Gail. That he's spending time teaching us about the different ways to navigate this water system. This is his wife, Wilma. Again, these people lived in the wilderness up there for 26 years year-round. This is Klaus taking the time to take me out, show me fishing spots, talk about the wolves, the moose, the bear, mushrooms. Great guy. Spent a lot of time with me. This gives you an idea of, with a map that Klaus actually made with lines, it shows you the far top right is where I have to start in that little motorboat with everything I'm bringing and negotiate underwater boulders, rocks, sandbars, sandy narrows, marshes, and wild rice beds. Takes, if it's perfectly clear, 35 to 40 minutes for me to get there one way. This is a view of, on the way home in the motorboat, of one of the 35 islands that are on this body of water. This is Klaus and I and Gail going through the rock cut. Again, you have to know where to go, or you might get home, but it's going to take a lot longer. This is Wilma. She wasn't afraid of anything, from cleaning a moose to catching fish to gathering mushrooms. Great gal. This is one of Gail's birthday parties. She comes up every year the week of the 21st of July, and we're kicking back a little bit. This is my laundromat on the island. It gets so hot you sweat, and then you have to change clothes before you go back because the water is still 30 or 45 degrees. This is Gail and I at the southern end of our island, near another place we're trying to make a boat landing. This is, again, Wilma. When you live in the wild for 26 years year-round, you get to know the animals, and she's hand-feeding all kinds of birds. Later, after many tries, I got one little bird to come and land on my hand. That's the view of where I go to work dead ahead through that pass. This is a picture of the four of us on the Michipicoten River. We took them out to this spot. It's just a great place to have a drink. It's a long drive. What we're doing right now is leaving Normandy Lodge, heading out this opening, which I've done for 8 years, anywhere from 3 to 6 trips a year, 200 plus trips the entire length of the lake. In other words, you have to go from here to the most extreme southern end of the lake, where the island is and where I'm building the cabin. This is called rock cut.
I don't know if you can tell or not, but there's actually literally boulders popping up. I've got the motor raised. That milk bottle, which was hung by Klaus years ago, is what you line up with so you miss these giant boulders in the water. When I get to this milk bottle, I line it up with that milk bottle. And if I don't, there would be no prop on this boat, because to either side of me right now are boulders just barely underneath the water, like 4 or 5 inches, some of them a foot. This spring coming through here, you could not tell where the trail even was through here, period. The water was that much higher. And if you try taking a boat motor through that centuries old wild rice beds, it's not, again, going to work out very well for you. So knowing which treetops to line up with certain landmarks really helps out.
This is a picture of the concrete being delivered so that I could take the concrete bags, something I underestimated the amount I would need, from the land, which it's hard to even get the concrete delivered. It's 40 miles to the nearest town in either direction, and the towns are tiny. So you can't take all the concrete out at one time. You got to bring the bags slowly as you're making your daily trips out there, while you're getting the site ready to dig the footings, to mix the concrete, to make the footings on the pylons. This is me clearing the site that we finally decided on, and starting to put in the stakes and give the actual dimensions of the cabin. I brought tools out over the course of previous years and had them stashed out there. That's my concrete mixing machine, the tub. This is me actually in a hole. I made 10 footings, and on top of those there were circular pylons that went up as well. This is actually the forms that I made. I cut rebar that I brought out to the island as well, to try to do it right. You want to keep the cabin above the snow line. I wanted to do this the right way. I just underestimated how difficult it was to bring all this material out alone. This is me just measuring the height of the lines for the site and for the depth of the holes. And this was one of the first ones actually finished, and then a pylon, 8-inch pylon, will go on top of that, and all 10 of those will be level, and that's what the first row of logs will go on, keeping them out of the snow during the winter. What you're looking at here is obviously me bringing supplies out. Every time you go, every season, you've got to bring all the things you need. So every day on the way to work, you're bringing other things out to the island site. After a while, I wised up and made a windshield that keeps the spray off of me a little bit. It's really cold in the morning. You don't want to get there soaking wet and then be in wet clothes for the rest of a 10-hour or 12-hour workday. Some days when you get to the boat, it's full of water. The bow of the boat gets rubbed on the rocks. There is no nice place to park when I get there. This is what I've worked out with Dustin up there. I got his little bilge pump, and I brought a battery that I keep fully charged. And it runs a bilge when this happens, and then we try to fix it. There's always big critters up there that I don't even know what they are. This guy's hitchhiking in the boat. The wasps up there, or the hornets, whatever they are like the size of a baby hummingbird. This is a much more beautiful creature in the front of the boat. It's my wife on one of her trips. Again, everything you bring to the island and use, you have to bring off the island.
This is how much water the little rowboat takes on just in a couple hours. I just bailed this out. So what I did was I hooked up a old bilge pump that Dustin had, and I've got a huge marine battery that I use for emergencies for the trolling motor.
What you're looking at here is a snowstorm. It's something I didn't mention. It's 14 hours of driving one way to get to where I'm at. So you don't miss a day of work. In 32 trips, I have never missed a day of work. Whether it's snow, rain, you got to get there. You got to get something done. This is me at the island. I get out of my Carhartts and you start your day. Some days you have to start later, but you still go. This is how foggy it is when the weather changes. You got to let the sun burn it off. This is when it's starting to clear. I sit in the rowboat. I'm slowly getting out to where I have to go. Again, you can't go fast. You can't outrun the fog or get into the fog. You'll hit rocks. I need landmarks to make this trip every time. This gives you a great example. It's clear on my side, and on the other side of the rock cut that I have to go through dead center and to the left, it's completely fogged in. So you got to go slow, and it just takes maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours to get there. On the way home, this is an osprey nest that I passed. It's really cool. It's huge, and the two osprey are bringing back food to the chicks.
Like I said before, I'm going to have to take it a little slower today because the snow is not really letting up. At least the fog's lifted, which is a big plus. I had to change gloves. Getting them wet and driving in the snow is really